Good morning. Good morning to everyone. We are launching today Climate Positive Agenda 2021 with our distinguished guests and friends. Let me start with Climate Minister and Environmental Minister, Mr. Michał Kurtyka. Welcome, Mr. Minister. Welcome also Deputy Minister Adam Gibursz-Czetwertyński, Undersecretary of State, also from the Ministry of Climate and Environment, plus our friends, our board, UN Global Compact in Poland board members. Let me start from ladies. Karin Skolt, CEO IKEA Retail Poland. Welcome, Karin. Good morning, Katarzyna Byczkowska, Managing Director, BASF Poland. Warm welcome. And of course, welcome to Alain Simonet, Managing Director, FreeAm East Europe region. As a beginning, let me explain to all of you that we are starting today a series. So that's the first debate. We are planning to have that kind of debate on Climate Positive Agenda 2021 together with Minister Kurtyka every month. Next one we are planning to have in December with a special guest, Vice President of European Commission, Frans Timmermans, as you know, also responsible for Green Deal. I hope you will join us also in December to participate in that dialogue. Now, let me leave the floor to Minister Michał Kurtyka. Mr. Minister, please, the floor is yours.
Welcome all the participants of today's debate organized by Global Compact Network Poland, and thank you very much, Kamil Wyszkowski, for leading this discussion. So we are launching the Climate Positive Initiative, Agenda 2021, and I could not miss the opportunity to stress how valuable is this kind of dialogue. We cannot achieve our climate goals without private sector involvement. And I'm especially pleased to welcome who share our vision of transformation to a clean and green economy. The climate and energy transformation is one of the most important challenges that we in Poland are facing in the coming years. But transformation is not only about energy, but also other sectors of the economy. And Poland's goal is to carry out an energy transformation that will not only increase respect for the environment and climate, but also will give an impulse to the economy. We hope to stimulate domestic industry and trigger innovation. And at the same time, we will make an effort to gain social acceptance for our decisions by providing fair conditions for changes in regions most exposed to transformation burden. So I consider the series of debates that start today to be particularly important from the point of view of the interests of the Polish state, and I wish you a very fruitful discussion. And again, thank you very much, Kamil Wyszkowski, for leading this important initiative. I look forward to have meaningful discussion and great fruits of this debate for Poland, Polish economy, and our planet. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Minister. So let me briefly describe why we decided to have such an initiative for Poland. So first of all, climate should be a positive agenda for everyone, and that's why we invited business leaders together with the government representatives to discuss where we are with that global agenda, where we are also with European Green Deal as a regional perspective, European perspective, plus how we could and we should involve private sector together with other stakeholders into that dialogue. Climate Positive Agenda 2021, as we said, we are launching that initiative today. We are planning to have not only discussions, but also some concrete actions together with the Minister of Climate and Environment, plus other ministries, to simply change the reality in Poland and other countries using climate and climate agenda, especially UN climate agenda, as a purpose, as a background for this type of dialogue. Why business is needed? Because without business, we are simply lost. Business is a part of the solution, not only a problem maker. That's why also UN Secretary General Antonio Guterres decided to not only invited the private sector into United Nations Climate Action Summit last year in September 2019, but also to express his willingness to build together with private sector a real agenda for future for future change and the positive change. That's why we decided to have such a title, Climate Positive, because we should be positive when we are talking about this global threat, which is also called as a climate, defined as a climate crisis. We are waiting for COP26, and now let me once more express our gratitude to Minister Kurtyka for his leadership as a president of COP24, one of the most effective and successful meeting we had, as you remember, in Poland in 2018. At that time in Poland, we not only agreed so-called Katowice framework, but also we built a background for better implementation of Paris Agreement. In addition to that, we are simply planning to, together with the ministry and together with Minister Kurtyka and his team, we are planning to include private sector into that dialogue and simply create some positive actions showing where and what we should do to simply prepare the background, the solid base for future changes, also in the context of future generation. Also, and that's why we invited not only private sector but also other stakeholders together with young generation, plus of course NGO, academia, and other partners which are simply planning to be a part of that. And once more, let me come back to Frans Timmermans and his important role. We are observing now one of the most ambitious program for Europe. A Green Deal, European Green Deal, could be a something so positive that it's even impossible to mention about that challenge on other terms, using other words. That's why we're also planning to be focused on that opportunity and simply describe to everyone why we are planning to use European Green Deal as a trigger to simply build this positive agenda for future generation. That's why we decided to together with Łukasz Kolano, Executive Director of UN Global Compact Network Poland, to simply to make all this thing happen. And we are simply inviting everyone, also all of you who are simply observing that dialogue, to join, to be a part of that. And last thing, we are planning to officially launch the global initiative, the Business Ambition for 1.5 degree, in December, together with Minister Kurtyka and Frans Timmermans. And that global initiative, that's our important goal. Of course, we are not building that initiative alone. That coalition is developed together with coalition under so-called science-based targets initiative. So science is needed. Just to remind to everyone, we have a scientific consensus around the climate crisis phenomena, and that's why we're also planning to discuss, to explain better that element, simply to provide data, to provide analysis, to provide important European reports which are produced every year by United Nations, European Commission and other players to better explain to societies, not only in Europe but also globally, where we are with the climate change issue as a global threat, as I mentioned before. That's it from now. Let's move to the next point of our agenda. Mr. Kurtyka, once more, thank you for your time and be with us. We are really simply we know that you have so busy schedule. That's really great. So let me move to your deputy, to Adam Gibursz-Czetwertyński, to present where we are with Polish strategy, Polish policies related to European Green Deal. Thank you once more.
Ladies and gentlemen, thank you very much for the opportunity to address you at this conference, Climate Positive. Climate change is an unprecedented challenge and a great opportunity. Its protection requires cooperation between social, business and government sectors. The business community can support decisions taken at the government level. And this is why such a dialogue as today we're having is so important. And I'm therefore looking forward to many more such meetings as the Climate Positive Agenda 2021. The private sector is constantly preparing for transition towards smarter, sustainable consumption and production patterns. Changes in energy use, in the use of resources, and in waste management are in course. And in addition, the pandemic for many companies may mean a change in priorities and objectives. All of this can be an excellent opportunity to introduce innovations and solutions that will permanently fit into the way we do business. Green transformation and the pursuit of climate neutrality will have an impact on the industry. And we are pleased to see that Polish and international companies present in Poland are interested in climate-friendly solutions. However, they need incentives to invest, and the Polish government is here also to work on the proper instruments for that purpose. As a matter of priority, we will take measures to ensure the production of affordable and clean energy with a key role of renewable sources. The transformation process will be based on the country's potential while stimulating the creation of new industries and jobs in future-oriented sectors such as renewable energy, nuclear energy, hydrogen technology, electromobility, heat pumps, and others. They provide an opportunity to create, in our estimation, around 300,000 new jobs in Poland. And this is also a great occasion for hundreds of Polish entrepreneurs to start new businesses and offer new products that we need to reach our targets. The government plans to initiate investments in large-scale renewables, such as offshore wind farms, and part of the energy demand can also be met by micro-scale projects. Prosumers, energy clusters, or energy cooperatives are areas with great potential for development. And therefore, the government is currently working on favorable regulations in this regard. Improving energy efficiency will also be essential. Here, we identify a particular potential in the building sector. The modernization of buildings can be an important trigger for economic recovery. The transition period would also be a great opportunity to develop new technologies and industries such as the dynamically developing electromobility. Poland is one of the largest manufacturers of batteries for electric cars and electric buses in Europe, and in the future it may be one of the global innovation leaders in the industry. The Polish energy policy 2040 assumes the creation of new niches for the development of companies, namely zero-emission transport, zero-emission building standards, and building sector transformation. These companies which manage to fill the niches will have a chance to thrive. This is a space for small and medium-sized enterprises. However, transformation also provides space for larger companies who will be able to engage in areas such as wind, offshore wind production, and nuclear power. Poland will use the available national and European funds for a smart transformation in the context of the post-pandemic recovery. The EU plans to allocate large resources to research and development activities, including the implementation of new technologies to help us reach our climate objectives. And this is a great opportunity for our companies, which have long wanted to focus on modern and ecological solutions. We would like the energy transformation to be based on solutions that are available in Poland. The pandemic has shown us that relying on global supply chains can prove at times challenging, and therefore creating national value chains is essential to increase our security. The energy transformation of Poland, due to a complicated starting point and a large scope of anticipated changes, will require the engagement of all stakeholders and will generate huge investment needs. The mobilization of private capital and the involvement of local stakeholders will be crucial, as it will lead both to greater availability of resources and to their more efficient use. And these and many and other points are points that we present as well in our discussions in the EU to make sure that we can reach the ambitions we want to set commonly as the EU to improve our climate policy framework. Thank you very much for your attention.
Alan Simonet, once more, Managing Director, 3M East Europe region. So please present your vision for all of us, to all of us.
Thank you, Camille. And first of all, let me thank the Minister Kurtyka and, as we will hear later, Minister Guy Bourget, Czerwetiński, for their appetite and their engagement towards this journey of making Poland climate positive. I think this is such a huge agenda, not only in this country, but globally, that it's great that we have this engagement between public and private sectors. And let me thank you, Camille, and Łukasz, as well, for not only animating this debate and dialogue, facilitating it, but also driving it here in Poland with the UNGC organization. Again, as you said, climate positive in the title is showing that we can do something, and that's what we strongly believe in 3M, is that we can contribute and certainly make a difference, and that's what I will maybe try and share with you, how from a global perspective and strategy, but also locally, what we're trying to achieve and drive forward for this agenda. And again, when you think about, this 9 billion individuals growth on the planet, the geopolitical challenges that are facing us are huge, and we will need solutions for the global communities, but also from the global communities. So very important for us to have public, private sectors, NGOs working together as allies and advocates for this challenge. Whether we talk about food, air, water, healthcare, education, I mean, the challenges are huge. We have to make priorities, of course. In corporations, we do make priorities, but once we've made them, we can have an impact. And again, I will share with you. It's interesting. We're exactly 5 years after the Paris Agreement in November, and every crisis is showing us that more and more the equilibrium of global and local situations is fragile, whether we talk about climate crisis or crisis related to the environmental, social, and corporate environments that we live in. Think about COVID-19 and look at what's happening to our environment. But still, we can do things. And for example, this conference today, the way we are driving this is showing that we not give up. Even in crisis, we find new ways and we move forward. So, and on the positive side, I see expectations also from all stakeholders and behaviors changing, whatever the generations, towards a more sustainable approach to whatever we do, whatever environment we're in. So for us in the private sector, of course, it's also about how we do business, how we develop our companies, with what purpose as our customers, consumers, and markets are changing. That's very important. And for us, we need to think. We are thinking about adapting, changing, or expanding our models as we move forward. So let me maybe share in the next 3-4 minutes before my colleagues. And again, I'm very proud to be here with my colleagues from IKEA or BASF. Let me share how 3M is addressing this. We have a very long-standing history of working around sustainability and environmental issues. We have programs since 1975 talking about 3 Ps, preventing pollution pays. That is how we started. as I said, in 75, and this is how we continue to drive many programs, many projects across the company around the world. But ESGs are now becoming really what is driving us forward, including measuring our progress and performance against these goals and objectives. And you talked about science, Camille, and I really think this is where certainly in 3M, and you can see that on the logo next to me, we are a science-based company. So it's about applying science to real life, to life. And by applying science to life, by making sustainability a strategic direction for the development of the corporation and part of its strategic responsibility, and by using our own 3M unique technologies, we believe that we can develop solutions that will be having an impact on the quality of life of many people and on the global climate challenge. We know that the make, take, and waste model is behind us. We have to continue to work towards something more favorable to all the environmental aspects. So again, in November 2018, our CEO, Mike Roman, increased our ambition by declaring our new sustainability framework. And I will close this part of the debate from us by giving you a quick high level on the three pillars that are really composing this. It starts with applying science to circularity. And this is about designing solutions, new solutions, innovations using less material. So it's pretty simple on paper. But in terms of objectives, we have a roadmap that says on a corporate basis, global basis, reducing our waste by 10% indexed to sales by 2025. Achieving zero landfill across more than 30% of our sites globally by 2025. And by the way, here in Poland, where we have one of our major footprints in the world for manufacturing and supply chain, we are already zero landfill for waste here in Poland, and we're very proud of that. And it's also about reducing our water consumption by another 10%, again, indexed to sales by 2025. So very precise agenda regarding circularity and how we operate in our plants, in our offices, like here in Warsaw, or in how we design and make our products. And I hope we'll have time to talk about this a little bit later on in the debate. The second engagement for us is to apply science for climate. And here it's about decarbonization of the industry, very clearly, and accelerating the access to global climate positive solutions and improve our environmental footprint wherever we are. And again, here, corporate objectives are very clear. It's about increasing renewable energy to 50% of the total electricity consumption globally around all our sites, and to reach 100% by 2050. And again, Poland, and I'm very proud of it, with my teams, we are leading this effort, and we are hoping to have very positive announcements for Poland next year on January around this capability to be powered by green energy. It's about also improving the energy efficiency by 30% by 2025, again, indexed to sales, reduce greenhouse gas emissions by 50% of our 2002 levels, despite growing in the next 10 years. So that's also a challenge, that really ambitious challenge that we want to take on. But it's also about helping our customers through our solutions, through our innovations, through our technologies, to reduce their own GHG emissions. And we even have a target there to help our customers reduce these emissions by 250 million tons of CO2 equivalent by 2025. So we want to put a measurement in front of us so that we are obliged, and we make it public, so that we are obliged to stretch ourselves and find new ways. Of course, last but not least, it's about applying science to our communities And here, and you touched upon it a little bit as well in your introduction, and the minister mentioned that as well, is how do we educate ourselves around this challenge of climate positive? And for us, it's investing in fair education, particularly around science, technology, engineering, and math, and particularly towards young women. It's very important that we have more diversity, gender diversity, going towards science to create the new engineers, the new scientists of the future that will be thinking green, not like my generation or the previous generation. And here we have also very precise goals, very precise objectives. It's about training up to 5 million people globally on worker and patient safety. And think about the healthcare situation right now. How can we help healthcare professionals to even behave even more safely for themselves and for their patients in hospitals? That's a real challenge. It's also about donating 300,000 hours of skill-based work towards communities around the globe, also to help them act safer or simply greener in their own environment. So this is for us how, and there are other objectives, but these are the key objectives that we are also driving here in Poland. And to close, Poland for us in 3M is a major country. We have more than 4,000 employees here in manufacturing, research and development, production, services, commercialization. We make and design 12,000 products and more made in Poland, designed in Poland. And we are commercializing here to our customers and consumers and partners in Poland more than 55 products and technologies. This is also how we believe that we can help and impact positively this war against the climate change. And it's because we do all this, and we will continue to do all this, and I believe we can do much more. We are not saying we know everything, we do everything right. We know that we need to continue to work on that journey. It's because I strongly believe that this is how we can be climate positive, that I will continue to engage myself and my teams around this agenda, and hopefully with you guys continue to really bring this cohort of actors together to move forward. So, thank you for giving us the opportunity to share this with you. And I hope that we will be maybe able to give some examples as we move towards the debate. Thank you.
Thank you, Alan. Every action should start with simply positive dialogue. So that's why we are so interesting to learn, to hear from you. Thank you very much, and let's continue our dialogue. Now the floor goes to our friend Karin Skult, CEO IKEA Retail Poland. Karin, please go ahead.
Thank you so much, Kamil. And I also want to say a big thank you to UN Global Compact, the ministers, and also the fellow colleagues in 3M and the BASF to come together on this important topic. So I would like to share with you a bit about the work that we are doing on climate within IKEA. And to start off, I think it's important to share that at IKEA we are driven by a very simple but powerful vision. And that vision is that we want to create a better everyday life for the many people. And of course, a part of this is then our focus on sustainability. And I think that the pandemic situation this year has really shown us that we as human mankind are vulnerable to the forces of nature. And an even larger threat to the future of the planet and for people is the climate crisis. And the climate crisis is accelerating very fast. It's already affecting millions, many millions of people around the world, as well as businesses. So, and in the speed that is developing, we really see that we need to come together. fighting climate crisis, we don't think it's the responsibility of individuals. It's the responsibility of all of us. And here, I think great companies have a great responsibility. And the bigger you are, the greater your responsibility as well. So we are also calling for action and urging everyone to come together and work together to act on this topic, because the time to act is now. So we take this very seriously, as I shared, and it was nice to listen also to Alain when you are sharing about your 3P strategy in 3M, because we also have our 3P strategy in IKEA, but we have different P's. We call it our people and planet positive strategy, where we are addressing the global challenges. And in this strategy, we have set ourselves very, very ambitious targets. We want to be 100% circular and climate positive by 2030. And this we want to do together with our customers, with our co-workers and our partners, and we want to tackle the unsustainable consumption, climate change, and also the growing inequalities around the world. We have built this strategy on 4 pillars. The first one is about healthy and sustainable living. It's really about how we can inspire and enable 1 billion people around the world to live a more sustainable life, and within the limits of the planet. The second part is circular, which is also super important, and one of our big ambitions for the future, to become 100% circular, where we want to transform our whole business into a circular business. The third part, or the third pillar, is climate positive. And we want to become climate positive by reducing the greenhouse gas emissions more than the whole IKEA value chain emits. And the fourth and last pillar is about being fair and equal, and creating a positive social impact for everyone across the whole IKEA value chain. So really quite ambitious goals, but also, I believe, very, very important for all of us. So I think also what is important with this strategy and these goals is that we want to achieve it as a value chain, and we want to achieve it as a global company worldwide. And here, coming back to IKEA Poland is quite a unique place for IKEA, because in Poland we have the factories, we have the production, we have distribution, and we also have retail, our stores. We have 11 stores and almost 40 pickup points across the country. And of course, we also have the online shopping, which we have seen this year has really reached completely new levels. Talking about production, Poland is the second largest production country for IKEA, just after China. And of course, this is a fantastic opportunity and also responsibility for us, because it also means that Poland is actually the second largest source of energy consumption for us, if you look at the IKEA production globally. So that by this, it also means that Poland is important for us into our ambitious targets to be climate positive by 2030. What not everyone knows about IKEA is also that we are an energy company. We have been, over the last years, investing a lot in renewable energy. And since 2011, we have invested 250 million euro here in Poland into renewable energy. Since 2016, we have built up 6 wind farms with a total of 80 wind turbines that are today producing around 450 gigawatt hours of electricity on an annual basis. And this is far more than what we consume in our stores and our warehouses and distribution centers. It is actually enough to power 190,000 households on an annual basis. But we want to do a lot more, and we are continuing to invest in renewable energy sources. For example, we are developing on-site PV installations on our IKEA stores and also our distribution units. And here we have also one request or a wish for as well for the future, because enable us to speed up these investments, we see that we have a need of two things. One is, of course, the clarity on the direction of the energy transformation, and the second is the support to simplify and remove the administrative and regulatory barriers for the investments into renewable energies. And we are very happy that we can come together in forums like these to really talk about these challenges, but also to share good examples between companies so that we can contribute and learn from each other. And we believe that if we work together, we can really spark change and build back a much better future after this year and this pandemic. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Karin, very, very much. Now let's discuss more or less the same vision, Climate Positive Agenda 2021 with BASF. Katarzyna Beczkowska, Managing Director, responsible for BASF activities in Poland. Please, the floor is yours.
Kamil, thank you very much for introducing me. Minister Kurtyka, Minister Gilbert-Czertwiński, thank you very much for making a great introduction. So I'm also really happy that I can be here. I think it's a very, very important topic for all of us, and I fully agree with all my predecessors that this is a topic where we need to focus together with the private and the public sector. So coming back to BASF, so in BASF, we create chemistry for a sustainable future. This is actually our mission, but it's also part of our DNA. It's part of our strategy for a long, long time. And we want to be a leader in sustainability and a leader in the climate positive actions like this one today. So what is exactly that we want to do? What are the examples of the things that we're doing? So maybe let me start from the first example that was mentioned already by my predecessors, a very critical topic, the reduction of the CO2 emissions, which is obviously one of the most important topics for all of us and one of the biggest aspect of the Green Deal. So we are absolutely committed to support the reduction of the CO2 emissions. Now, on the other hand, maybe one information now that we and also the whole chemical industry, for us, it's a great challenge, yeah. Because as you can imagine, chemical industry is energy intensive. We do need energy. We need a lot of energy to perform chemical reactions. The chemical cracker needs to be heated up to 850 degrees Celsius to start the reaction. So basically, this energy was coming historically from the fossil fuels, and that meant a lot of CO2 emissions. So again, it is a challenge, but it's also a great opportunity. And why? Well, because we can actually, having this in mind, we can create new technologies, and we can also develop new products, which will support this climate positive actions. And maybe let me give you a couple of examples. So the first example, coming back to the chemical reactions, our crackers, which are, heated up, huge temperature, fossil fuels traditionally. Now, if we convert this fossil fuel energy into the electrical energy, and on top, if we use the green energy for this electrical energy, we can save up to, or we can reduce up to 90% the emission of the CO2. 90%. And this is our biggest issue actually in the chemical industry. Second example, hydrogen. Hydrogen is one of the products that we actually produce, but it's also, as we know, it's been named the energy of the future. Now, traditionally in the production of the hydrogen, there's a lot of CO2 emissions. But we have the technology to produce this hydrogen completely without the emissions, and then it's called the green hydrogen. And finally, we also have the technology even to capture the CO2 from the air and convert it to the other products. So as Kamil said, as Alan said, science is needed because science can help us in this climate positive actions. So this is for the products. We also work together with our customers because we know we can only achieve these targets together with the customers. And we actually have a program. We have announced that we want to provide the carbon footprint for all our products to the customers. And by 2021, so by the end of next year, we will have this carbon footprint measured for 45,000 of our products. Now, we believe this can create greater transparency, and it will help also our customers to achieve our goals. So this is one area, CO2 emissions. Now, let me also refer to the circular economy, which was also mentioned by Alan and by Karen. Well, this is another area where we can support to reduce waste, to close the circle with our technology and with our products. Starting with technology, chemical recycling or chemcycling. This is the process which can turn the chemical, or actually the plastic waste, into the pyrolysis oil, and this oil can be turned back and fed into the cracker.
So starting to your point, everyone was listening to you till I hope the very end. So if we could move into the panel discussion, will be great. That panel discussion we will moderate together with Łukasz Kolano. And we will start. We will start from you, Kasia. Will be really great to simply also discuss some elements you mentioned already. Łukasz is moderating your session, so let me move into Łukasz. Łukasz, the floor is yours, please. Go ahead.
Thank you so much. Dear guests, it was actually great to hear all of you with your visions and your strategies, and it was very positive also to hear that is a strategic vision behind what the government is planning, what the strategies of national strategies are, and a great opportunity to link those the strategies of on the national level with the business involvement and activities. That's why it is very interesting and important for us also to be move from the strategic level to slightly more tactical. That's why we called this session, this debate, Agenda for 2021, because we wanted to ask you what are your plans and strategies and actions actually for next year. Because as far as agenda goes, like 2030, 2050, the action and activities should be done already, and you actually are doing those. So this is interesting for us. I wanted to ask you first, what do you see as BASF? What is for you the biggest climate or environmental challenge that you are facing within your work, or your consumers or your partners face, and especially for the next year? And what is your strategy, and what is your actions for next year that you plan that could impact this immediately? Because this is, in a month's time, we would actually be implementing 21 strategy. Katarzyna, if you could please react on those. This the most immediate actions of the big companies is something that is very interesting for all of us. Thank you.
Of course. Well, as I mentioned, for us, we are very much in favor of a Green Deal. We are supporting the points of the Green Deal. So for us, it's not the question what, but it's more a question how. And here, well, as I mentioned before, we are extremely energy intensive. So where we need to have a dialogue, and we need to have a discussion with different parties on how to transform. And as I explained, we do have technologies that will help us achieve a further reduction in CO2, being further climate positive. But again, a dialogue is needed to put a specific frame on it, to have specific regulations, which will mean that we will maintain as an industry, and I'm talking about Europe here, because we don't talk only about our company, but the whole industry in Europe, that we will maintain competitive towards our, towards other continents. So this is, I think, the most important, to put the frame. What do? We have a lot of dialogues open on different topics, but maybe on the technology, what is interesting, what I have already mentioned. So we talked about these technologies to reduce CO2 emissions, talking about specific products. and talking about maybe sustainable cities. So I've mentioned the catalyst, but also e-mobility. This is something very immediate because we have just announced that we are opening in Schwarzheide in Germany, one of the biggest production sites for the battery materials. So this will actually it will be enabling the supply of around 400,000 full electric vehicles per year. So this is one of the immediate actions that we have. And then on top, I think we have the existing products where we also we have already applications from those existing products. I'm talking, for example, I'm coming back to the circular economy, what I've mentioned before. So technology of chemical recycling. We also need some frame here. We need to put in the regulation that the chemical recycling is as valuable and it's on the same level as the mechanical recycling. And talking specifically about the product, we also we can mention here our biopolymers. So we already have polymers which can be an alternative to the classical polymers and can actually can be an alternative for various applications, and they're already used in the agro area as a mulch film, or in the shopping bags. Probably everybody knows that, or in the waste bags, where they can be biocompostable with the waste. But now here also, I think it's important that we have a dialogue with the authorities to find some kind of a frame to make the use of those biopolymers more, let's say, more acceptable. So I think those are the immediate things that I would see from our side, from BASF side.
Thank you so much. It actually it's great to hear, because it is actually the products and the way you work with partners and customers that ultimately would make a change in your field, especially when chemicals are everywhere, which means that you cannot possibly avoid or even if you should, and this is definitely a part of solution. It's great to hear that there are some very, very concrete ways to amend or to adapt. Let me ask you another question from a different angle, and this angle was in a way introduced by our great partners from the ministry, representing and presenting national strategies. That is, the government, as presented, is open to not only change and make a transition, but only be involved in a close cooperation and partnership also with business to be more aligned, more adjusted to what should be done in Poland. So at the same time, there is a need for adjusting environment in a way for your operations. Perhaps you considered some regulations that should be adjusted, or ways the business operates according to rules that would make this easier and in a way faster, efficient. Could you please reflect on that also?
We are actually producing hydrogen. There is a big emission of the CO2. Now it's possible to do it without the emissions. And there is a technology, and this is called then green hydrogen. Now the only issue is that today, with the scale that we have, the cost of such a hydrogen is 4 times higher. So again, the regulations somehow are needed to close this gap. Otherwise, it will be very difficult to foster these new technologies on the market, because we talk about a huge difference for the time being. Yeah, this is one example. The other example, which could also be a topic for Poland, is biopolymers. Again, we have a solution for many areas, as I mentioned, for the agro, to replace the traditional polyethylene. I don't mean to replace, but to be an alternative in special areas, like for example the mulch film, where traditionally you use a film where the farmers then need to collect this film. And it can mean residuals on the field. So collecting, and then when you collect, you have to do something with it. Again, you have to recycle it, right? But then you don't collect all of it. So some of it remains in the soil. But we do have a solution of completely biodegradable film, which is which actually can stay. It can even be a compost for the soil. So it can even be beneficial for the field. But again, there is obviously a gap which needs to somehow be covered, at least at the beginning, to encourage the farmers to use this kind of a product. So some kind of a regulation is needed, at least as a starting point, to encourage people to turn into those more sustainable solutions.
So much. Kamil?
Yeah, so I have some questions to Karin. Frankly speaking, we strongly believe from UN side that regulations has a matter, especially at the global level. That's why we have a climate process. That's why we have Paris Agreement. That's why we are waiting for the next climate summit in Great Britain. That's why we are also trying to cooperate as closely as it possible with a Polish government and also the local government to make things happen based on legal regulations. And this type of question I have to you: what are your expectations related to legal regulations, legal framework in Poland to allow you as a person which is simply leading IKEA in Poland into this climate positive agenda for 2021 and also other future years? So please Karin, answer that philosophical, maybe even question.
No, thank you so much, Kamil, for raising this question with us. And as I shared before, we are investing already heavily into renewable energy, and we want to continue to invest into renewable energy. And we have done so in the last years. We have just invested in PV installations in our distribution center here in Jarosti, and we have in the plans to continue to invest also into on-site PVs on the rooftop of our stores. And as I shared with you earlier, we are facing bureaucratical challenges here. It's both about the waiting permits to get onto the grid, but it's also about that that we have some regulatory barriers. And we would appreciate, of course, a lot if these regulations could widen the understanding of a prosumer in the Polish law to include energy clusters and housing communities and also cooperatives. And here I think we are very open to continue the dialogue as well to find solutions for businesses to continue to invest in an efficient manner. And then if you don't mind, I would love to also answer the question that was raised before about what are the plans for 2021 and the next year, because at IKEA we are actually in the coming year celebrating our 60th anniversary here in Poland, which is fantastic because it's 60 years ago since we started producing furniture in Poland. And we also have named this year, the next year, as our leap year of sustainability, because what we see is that it's too late to take the small steps. It's really the time now that we commit and we start taking the big and the bold steps. I was sharing before about that we want to enable and inspire the many people or the many customers to live more healthy and sustainable. And today we have 4,000 products in our range that we are classifying as more sustainable, that they are either from recycled resources or can help a customer to live more sustainably. And this is out of the 10,000, so it's quite a substantial amount. But we are continuing to making bold commitments. Next year, for example, if I would just give one example, which is related to next year, is that we will actually stop selling all alkaline batteries in all our stores worldwide. And if you look at the figures for 2019, we sold 300 million alkaline batteries. And if we then are encouraging the customers to instead buy the rechargeable batteries, you charge them 50 times and reuse them, we are actually avoiding then 5,000 tons of waste. And I think this is something that we need to do as businesses, just like we did with the switch from incandescent bulbs into LED, to continue to make this switch that are better for people and for the planet and can inspire more people to live a healthy and sustainable life.
We know that you are also measuring clients' expectations. It's always good to know what clients are expecting from the product you are producing. We know also that let's say solar strategy is a great success. So solar energy through IKEA, that's one of the most the most attractive element of this climate positive agenda, at least in your company, and we are simply keeping our finger crossed for other sellers to simply make similar things happen. But if you could explain to us a bit more how you are preparing yourselves to this phenomena, to simply clients' expectations. Simply, people in Poland are more climate positive than before.
Yes. No, thank you. It's nice that you are sharing that, because we are doing a lot of research, and we also do our own research. And from this, we know that people care more than ever about climate change, and also that people are worrying about the climate change. So if you compare the last 2 years, only here in Poland, we can see that in 2017, 65% of the Polish consumers were worrying about climate change. That has now increased to 82%, so it's really a drastic increase. I think the positive in this research shows that 90% really want to make an effort towards climate smart actions in their day-to-day behaviors. The worrying thing that we see, and where we see that we can support, is that only 37% know how to do it. And this is where I think also that we can play a role to really inspire and enable a customer in the small steps to live a more sustainable life at home, because a lot of this actually also starts at home, whether it is to, let's say, change the light bulb for an LED that is reducing your energy by 80%, or whether it's having an induction hob or a water-saving tap. There are many actions that can be done at home. And we are continuing to do exactly what you say, to expand the offer, both in terms of the products, the 4,000 products, the more sustainable products, but also in our home solar, in our service agenda, and also, and not to mention, our food agenda. And this week we have, at the global level in IKEA, announced that we have committed to reach 50% plant-based offer in all our restaurants worldwide by 2025. And last year we were welcoming close to 700 million customers worldwide. So it really can, the volume and the scale of our business really can bring a big impact.
Thank you very much, Karen, especially for that last example. I completely forgot about your famous vegan food. So as you know, I enjoy it a lot.
Our plant ball for meat lovers.
Exactly. So thank you for this example, and let's move to Łukasz and the last round of question to Alan. Please, Łukasz, go ahead.
Thank you. Yes, I have a pleasure to circle back to Alan and ask about different perspective. That is moving from vision and strategy to actions. You actually started to introduce that. Especially when start explaining this agenda to apply science to communities. That was interesting part for me, especially. But if I could ask you, what do you think are your customers' expectations or your partners' expectations for the next year, for future years, and how fast the change is growing? I won't ask if you catch up to the change, because it's kind of obvious, but tell me how difficult it is, or how challenging it is, or what is the pace of this change?
Thank you, Kash. I mean, that's an interesting question that could make a debate in itself. But yes, for sure, market expectations are changing. Whether we talk about consumers, customers, or other stakeholders. And I think Minister Guy Bourget touched upon that as well. More and more of the expectations in the market are different. And you know, private sector corporations are not philanthropic organizations. They have to do their own job towards philanthropy, for sure. But we're a US stock market based company, one of the major values. So we need to make sure that whatever we do is positioned for the next, you know, long-term and medium-term perspective, as well as short-term returns, as we know. But we really strongly believe in 3M that there's a really solid and good business case in addressing a climate-positive market that is changing. I have some data. We also do and follow our you know, customers, consumers, and partners. And it's not an easy job to do. Again, these expectations can change, linked with significant events like COVID, for example. But when we look at us, we've been present on the market with a major brand in sectors like industrial, transportation, healthcare, energy, to name but a few. And think about the changes in automotive industry and aerospace industry, for example, in the last 3 years, in the last 3 months or 6 months. What will it be for the next 10 years? There's a lot of dynamics there, and we have to understand that, or try to understand that, and address it and adapt. Anticipate where we can, but maybe sometimes adapt ourselves when the frequency or the speed of change is higher. We know that, you know, today 55% of customers declare they will pay extra for products from companies committed to social impact, which is already a trend. But 71% of consumers say that they will pay more if they find these benefits or these commitments in the products and in the companies. Also a change, and I know that Karine and IKEA also are working on that behavior. 61% of consumers would borrow or share rather than buy new products. So we also have to think about how do we anticipate this and build that into our innovation. When we talk about big companies, we talk about brands and reputations and presence. 80% of consumers would buy from an unknown brand if it had a strong environmental or social commitment. So, you know, that can have a quick and very big impact on us if we don't understand and anticipate this. And same thing when we talk about employment. If we want to attract talent, we have to make sure that we're on the right page. And 67% of the people we talked to told us that they would prefer to work for a socially and environmentally friendly company. Just to give you a few numbers. And of course, when we talk about investors, now more than 50% of our investors or investors around the world are looking at not only the financial performance, but also the ESG commitments from companies. So the markets are changing. Now, how do we take this in account? Maybe I will focus on two aspects that are linked. There's still, and my colleagues, my peers said that as well, it's how we innovate. And for us, it's not only listening to our customers, but it's working with them to innovate and develop new products. We're an innovation company. We're also a material science company. You don't see many finished products of 3M towards the consumer market. We also have our Viscoplast brand and products. We have our Post-it brands and products. We have our Command brand and products in the consumer world. But a large part of our activity is unseen to the public as such. But it is said that during the day you encounter about 15 to 17 times a 3M product without knowing it in your environment. So we work with our customers to try to see how we can bring that greener, more sustainable solutions. And one of the things that is really now in place, and you were asking what will we do next year, it is happening since the beginning of 2019. It is the commitment that every new product we launch since the 1st of January 2019 will have a sustainability value commitment to it. And you will understand why this has an impact. The sustainability benefit can be recyclability, can be energy or water saving aspect. It can be responsible sourcing, responsible origin of the product, renewable materials, reused or reusable materials, etc., etc. So these are the key elements. So you can see it will start right at the beginning of the value chain with how we are sourcing our materials, what materials are we choosing or inventing in order to transform a product or to invent a new product, right down to the production piece, of course, and how this will be integrated in our customer's solution. And I'll come with some examples at the end so that you can picture what I mean there. But this is really the journey, right to how will this product be disposed of as the total life cycle analysis and approach of the product. So this is really where, as a corporation, we are really working on very, very actively to change what we will be, let's say, addressing to the customer, but also how do we integrate customers in our, let's say, product development using design thinking or any other methods in integrating and adapting our products. And think about the impact. I told you we commercialize 55,000 products. We invent and launch 1,000 new products every year. That's 3 products every day, basically. And we are present across 120 countries around the world. So the impact of this as we move forward will be amplified and hopefully will have the impact that we expect there. So this is, let's say, the big picture. But maybe some examples that are exactly related to what Minister Kurtyka or, excuse me, Minister Czerwetynski mentioned for Poland as priorities for Poland. So we heard about construction market, new and renovation. Typically, this is where we also have examples of solutions like thermal management window films that can be applied on a new building construction. And there are many buildings that I can see from here in Warsaw downtown where these products are or can be applied. And that can save up to 10 to 20% of the energy that the building will require within its operations and life. Insulation materials and roof granules technologies that not only can absorb but transform CO2 emissions into something which is not emitting any greenhouse gas is also something that can be brought into the equation of new product, new solutions that are really factual and operational. We hear a lot about the digital world, and look at us. I mean, we are now meeting through a digital interface, which means that more and more data, more and more digital information is being shared, is being transmitted, which means we need a lot more and many more data centers. These are huge machines consuming energy. Again, developing cooling fluids that are good for the environment, but that also can reduce the consumption of energy, electricity, by up to 15 to 20% in these data centers is how, by working with customers, we have been able to bring new solutions. We would not have been able to do it on our own. We worked with them and we found that this magic fluid where you can drop a piece of electronics in it and pull it out and it's still cool and operating is not magic, but a lot of work and a solution. And maybe last but not least, because that was also mentioned by the ministers, auto electrification is certainly one of the major transformation of a big sector, a big economic sector, but also of our life, moving towards electrified automobiles and other vehicles. And again, here we have developed with OEMs and tiers around the world and in Poland as well, solutions where using, for example, we call glass bubbles that are very, very small particles of glass that will make any solution lighter. And by having lighter solutions, you can have more appropriate lifetime, let's say, or distance or energy saved or used for your vehicle. And there are many applications around batteries and electrification. So again, these are not always very visible, very glamorous solutions, but they are all contributing to this aspect of impacting the changes from the customers, from the users or consumers of our products. And maybe to close on your question, Łukasz, also, and to touch back on science, you were asking, what do we do? Or you were asking, Karin, what do you do to try to understand your customers, or how do you do that? We have recently carried out a very large piece of research globally, and Poland was one of the countries, around what we call the State of Science Index, which is to try to understand how do people believe, understand, trust, want to participate in science for the greater good of the planet. And it's both a positive and negative feedback that we receive. There's some a lot of positives, but there are also some elements that we absolutely need to work on together, private and public sectors. But I would like to bring one, which is an encouraging one and very much linked to what we're talking about today. There is definitely an improvement towards trust and understanding of science in Poland. The skepticism that we measured in the last 3 years, for the first year, was going down. So, and I think the COVID crisis, and we measured this just before and just after the COVID crisis on a sample of more than 1,000 people in more than 15 countries, was the same, but particularly in Poland was a positive sign. And the top 3 items that came out when we asked people, but where do you think science can help? Where do you think science should help with actors from the private sector, from the education sector, from the public sector? The top 3 items were, of course, find a vaccine for COVID. That was, of course, that's top of mind right now. The second one was continue to work and find a solution to fight cancer. And the third one was positive climate impact, bringing fair, equitable solutions to have a climate positive impact. So I think it's telling us that we're on the right agenda, but the public is also beginning to come with us and want us to go in that direction.
Thank you, thank you, Alan. You actually answered my next question about the challenges and challenges that we face or should overcome, and special action points for us to do in Poland. That was very interesting observations, and actually I think it applied to the whole of our discussion. We have to wrap up, and thanking for your involvement in this discussion, but also in taking a consistent leadership role in proving that there is action possible and involvement also personally, but institutionally in those discussions, those changes is possible. It's very positive, and we want to build on that. We want to ask everyone participating in the future debates, and our viewers to be more involved and be present in those. As I have to say, we called this Climate Positive Talks Agenda 2021 not only because there is a shortness of the horizon for our from our side, but because immediate actions are needed, and we won't say climate positive 2030 or 2050 because so not to fall in the trap of the strategy of the horizon that Mark Carney said about the too far off actions that are not observable and not actionable. What I want to say in 2 sentences is through those debates we want to support all the national programs and actions focused on clean air, water management, energy efficiency, and energy transition, but also all the global initiatives that we had the chance to mention, especially business ambition for 1.5 degree, which obvious aim. At the same time, the inviting you all to support science-based target initiative, because this is the very base and a common denominator for us to act on. I pass a word for a moment to Camille, also to have an observation about our viewers.
Yeah, true. You know, the positive information we had 547 participants. So I think that's a lot. So that's really great, and huge thank you to everyone who spent with us this a couple of hours. You know, we are really grateful that this type of meetings has audience. You know, without audience we are lost, huh? So fortunately you are with us, so also thank you from our end for your time and for your participation.
And we heartily invite to next of the series soon. Thank you so much.